The holidays are behind us and school routines are back. Now is the time to help your kids start the new semester strong. IXL helps students refresh what they learned in the fall, so they head into the new year feeling confident and prepared. With new units and new goals, IXL is the simplest way to build better habits and stay on top of lessons without the stress. As teachers dive into new material, kids can practice those exact same skills at home to make sure the lessons really stick. IXL is an award-winning platform covering math, language arts, science, and social studies for pre-K through 12th grade. It's personalized, interactive, and actually fun. Keep your kids motivated for the second half of the year at IXL.com. Don't miss out. 1 in 4 students in the U.S. are learning with IXL. IXL is used in 96 of the top 100 school districts in the U.S. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. And listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXLlearning.com/audio. Visit IXLlearning.com/audio to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price.
Welcome back to Come Back with a Warrant podcast. I'm Brandon Dinitz.
And I'm Monica Ashak. Before we kickstart this week's episode, this is your reminder that this podcast is not legal advice. It's real, unfiltered, and for entertainment purposes only. If you need to speak with a lawyer, call one. Or better yet, call us.
All right, good to be back with you. So today we're looking at why people have negative views about us, about criminal defense attorneys. And what I mean by that is we are the most heavily policed in terms of ethics, probably in our profession.
Yeah.
But we get the reputation that we are not. The reputation of defense attorneys is that we're sleazy or that we are sneaky or doing something shady. I think that's the furthest thing from the truth.
I agree. And I think because we're under a microscope in a sense, that makes, I would say, a lot of us do take it seriously. Obviously, there are some exceptions, and we will be discussing some exceptions.
Right.
But overall, I would not generalize and say, obviously, criminal defense attorneys are unethical. And I would take a step back and even say, like, lawyers in general are not really seen as, like, the most ethical, honorable people in like professional aspects, I think, because people call lawyers are liars or, you know, they're sneaky, always trying to like manipulate or use like their knowledge to twist people's words or all these things. Or like whenever, I don't know if you hear this, but probably not as much because you're married to an attorney.
People do not come up to me and tell me, you sneaky lawyer. No, nobody says that.
I didn't mean it like that. I meant like when your partner tells you that you're like lawyering them or like maybe
no, because my partner does lawyer me.
Exactly, because
so no,
she herself is an attorney. But that's what I was saying. So like maybe not so much exposure in your personal life, but in general, people just have this like not great idea of lawyers in general. And then on top of that, criminal defense, and we were talking about this before, is like when you say I'm a criminal defense attorney, people are like, ooh, like, how do you do that work? Or like, it's like this judgment that people come with. And it's like, never, ever like, oh, thank you so much for like what you do in the community. Like saying you're a prosecutor is like more honorable to other people than.
Right. Well, even other lawyers, when you tell them you're a criminal defense attorney, they typically look down on you. And they're like, oh, you were the stupid kid in law school. And it's like, no, that's not at all. I'm the smart one in law school because you're sitting there, you know, listening to Come Back with a Warrant. And I'm the one on the microphone coming back with the warrant.
Exactly. But listen, C's get degrees, okay? Because I got a D in contracts.
We are not advocating for bad grades.
No, get your good grades. Pass law
Stay in school. Yes. Because ultimately, if you want to get hired, you still need to have decent grades.
Yes, but
so
I
do
say
well
that
in school. But we're also saying the kids that were the smartest in school doesn't mean they were the smartest.
Yeah, they're not the smartest lawyers or the best lawyers. Like,
no,
I don't think that's, I think also in criminal defense, what differentiates us from other legal industries is that we're, how do I say this in like in a way that doesn't get misconstrued, which I think everything can get misconstrued. Anyways, I think criminal defense attorneys have this thing about them. And I think this is in prosecutors too, but more so, I think, in criminal defense attorneys where you can kind of just like handle things in court and not really worry about things behind the desk in terms of like motion. Like that's not your strength. Like your strength is not motion writing, unless you're an appellate lawyer. I would exclude them, obviously, but I'm talking about like trial lawyers who represent defendants in active criminal cases. Their strength is being in trial. Their strength is oftentimes talking and being public speaking and like not necessarily the legal aspects of a case. Obviously, that comes with time and like practicing actual law. But naturally speaking, these people are like the trial ad people in law school, the people that are willing to kind of just debate on the spot, not really worried about like presenting. They have these things about them that we can just kind of perform on the spot, or we kind of get this skill that is acquired over time just from practicing, because I'm not a natural at this. I've said that before, but that's something that I think is definitely a big difference between criminal defense and other areas of law, because other areas of law, there is, even if you are a litigator, you still have to, like, if you're in civil discovery, there's like so much writing involved with that. Like, it's not just like show up to court and perform or handle that case, plead not guilty, negotiate, present a mitigating case. So I think that I'm not validating in a sense that we are dumber than the rest of the legal field, but at the same time, I do believe that there is this skill set that we have that's like we're kind of adaptable. We're more flexible. We're able to kind of just show up on the spot. And I mean, prosecutors have that too, but I think defense attorneys more so. And even like in public defense, private defense, it doesn't really matter. You just kind of like show up, and that is your job, is showing up.
That's totally true. And I understand what you're saying. I am not the best motion writer. I mean, I send most of my work to my wife to double check if I'm being completely honest, and that's because she's an excellent writer and I'm just not. That's a strong suit that is great for parts of this profession. But if you want to succeed doing what we do, no, you are not the one that needs to be the best motion writer, but you certainly need to be the one that if there is a motion, you need to be able to be in front of the judge and present that motion as well as anybody else.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more on your feet, negotiating face-to-face, interacting with the judge face-to-face. You know, a lot of the civil process, the mediations, everything is slower, and a lot of it's outside of the courtroom. With criminal, most of it is inside the courtroom, and it's a much quicker process. But then again, there's the positives and negatives to anything. The positives to the civil law side, as everybody knows, and everybody is probably thinking as I'm saying it, the money. There's so much more money to be made in the civil law side than there is in the criminal side. Just because, you know, insurance companies, when they pay out on settlements, those are oftentimes big numbers.
Yeah. And
that could be just one case. And that's, you know, great for civil lawyers, but that's just not what I am using my skill set for as a lawyer, and that's not what makes me happy. Sitting behind a desk and writing motions doesn't make me happy. No. Researching, unless I absolutely need to, which there is definitely a time and a place when I need to be doing that. But when I don't need to be doing that, I don't want to be spending my time doing that. I'd like to be speaking to my clients, speaking to prosecutors, you know,
exactly,
scheduling times to be in court for the types of motions that we handle and types of things that we do.
And we see this, a lot of the same issues over and over again legally. So when it comes to research, we're never really, it's not often that we're researching an issue that we're like it's
completely
something
novel.
Yeah, we've never heard this before. Like that is way more, I think that happens way more often in civil cases. And not to say it doesn't happen in criminal, but it's just something that doesn't come up every single day. So a lot of the cases and case law and precedent and law that we rely on to do our job today is things that we do all the time. So we already kind of know it's second nature. And that's why our main job is just showing up. But I say all that to say, because we are talking about like ethics and how criminal defense attorneys are perceived generally. I don't think that other attorneys, I hope that other attorneys don't look at us and say like they're less ethical than us. Like, I really don't think so.
No, I don't
think
so,
they look at us more so in the way that's like, okay, yeah, they just like show up to court and that's it. Like they don't really do shit.
Whatever. You make less money. I feel like the way other lawyers look at it is like, oh, you make less money.
Yeah,
that's basically,
which is true.
That's basically it. But that's, again, not why I didn't take this job for the money. Like, I love doing this.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of the money. This was the profession that I am choosing to be in, and I've chosen, for my life.
Yeah, I agree. And so a lot of people that don't know the inside of law life or becoming an attorney or the process of becoming an attorney, obviously you have to apply before you even take the bar exam, you have to apply to take it. And there are so many processes to get through to become an attorney and finally a barred attorney. So there were people even that passed the bar exam that still were not licensed lawyers because of character and fitness or the ethical portion of their application. There's so many different aspects of the application. And one of them is the ethics portion. And that requires all attorneys before bar to take something called the MPRE. Do you know what the MPRE stands for? I don't know.
Multi-state professional responsibility examination.
Okay, yeah.
I think.
I didn't know what the M was.
I think that's what it stands for.
Okay, yeah, well that makes sense because you don't have to take it. You don't have to take it every time you pass the bar exam elsewhere. So I think you're right.
So I think that's what it is.
But yeah, so that's the ethics portion of the bar exam, which you take as a law student. I think you take it after your first year, sometime after your first year, because you have to first put in your application. And when you take it, that's when you are able to ethically license, you're ethically licensed at that point, but you still obviously have to take the bar exam to practice law.
Yeah, I think if someone that's not at all familiar with the process. So for law school is 3 years long, and you are starting your bar application process during your first year.
Yeah.
That's how long this process takes. Part 1, this character and fitness, which Monica was starting to talk about, is an entire section that's the Florida bar doing a background check on you and anything that you've ever done, ever. If you farted too loud in high school, the bar needs to know about it. And that was the way that it was based, not that eloquently, but that's how it was described in law school, was you needed to put every single thing you ever did, for the most part, on there. And there are a lot of people that get caught up in that stage. If you have prior arrests in your history, or if you have disciplinary things in your past from school, that's stuff that could hold you up with that character and fitness section. But then once you get cleared by character and fitness, then you're able to, that's one of the boxes you have to check off to get through the bar application process. And then you have that MPRE exam, the professional responsibility exam, which is an entire exam devoted to ethics and rules that we as lawyers must follow. You said this at the beginning, how other professions look at us and whether other professions think we're sleazy or unethical or whatever. To my knowledge, being a lawyer is the only profession where you have to pass an exam on ethics.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that to be, to my knowledge. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know about certain financial exams or things. I would hope that there's some ethics components to that as well. But we're one of the only professions where you have to have an ethics component.
Yeah.
And not only is it a component, it's a mandatory thing that you have to pass to
It's a whole separate test.
Right.
It's not it's not a section of the bar exam. No, you have to pass this separately from the bar exam.
Correct.
And you have to take MPRE professional responsibility prep class before. That is a requirement for everybody to do before actually taking the MPRE exam.
So, there's a lot that goes into just becoming cleared by the bar on an ethics level before you even get to the exam process. Yeah. And that's kind of what we're getting at is the process of becoming a lawyer. Your ethics are checked at the very beginning. Your background is checked at the very beginning. And then you are taught these are the rules that you have to follow. And criminal defense attorneys in circumstances follow more rules and have more things that we are not allowed to do in terms of the conversations we have with our clients and when we have to report things or not report things, or when we have a duty to the court versus our client and which duty goes higher. Those aren't things that every other lawyer, certainly every other profession, have to deal with. Yeah,
that's so true. And you actually reminded me that process, you start your first semester, I think, of law school, submitting your application, like you were saying. And you reminded me while you were talking, because I completely forgot. They got back to me. I thought I was not going to pass character and fitness because that guy I was dating before law school that got arrested, listen to this. They came back and they were like, because you have to submit every address you ever like were connected to in your history. And so it was a specific state. I'm not going to say which state, but it was a specific state that he was from. And on one of the letters, when they got back to me, because they would like confirm they received X, Y, and Z, and they got back to me stating that they believed that I was connected to that address, his address. And I was like, please disconnect me completely from this.
Were you still with that guy at that point or no?
No.
This was after that.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, please. But thankfully they like, after I told them I like never had connection with it other than that scenario, like I just was in a relationship with someone that lived there. I never actually lived there or anything. It was fine. But I was like, oh my God. Anyways. That was my only mishap.
But that's scary. Yeah, but okay. But again, like they go through everything with a fine tooth comb to need to know your prior addresses. I mean, they want to know everything. And there are a ton of people that are applying for the bar every year. And there are a ton of people that become lawyers in all these different states every year and have to pass these certifications and these professional responsibility exams. You know, we're talking from the perspective of having done it in Florida, but you have to do this everywhere else.
Everywhere. And there are like I said, people have passed the actual bar exam. I think that's true, right? Or can you not take the bar exam until you pass the MPRE?
I think you can take the bar exam.
That's what I thought.
Without having passed the MPRE.
Yeah, but you have to take it within a certain time frame.
But you still have to have both passed in order
before you
practice.
Correct. Right. And there are attorneys that practice to represent students applying to get passed by the bar, because the bar is like, they have their own like process. Like they have their own hearings. Like you can challenge things. Like they have their own, I don't even know. I don't even know if that's considered admin law. I think it is, but who knows? And there are attorneys who specialize in that and like actually represent the students who are trying to get past that. But, and like I said, like there have been attorneys who have had like criminal history or, you know, situations in their past where the Florida bar becomes aware of it and they investigate it and all the things, and they end up letting them still become attorneys. Like there are many attorneys I know that have either minor or significant criminal history and they're practicing lawyers now because they passed the ethical portion and it's fine.
Well, all you have to do is tell them about it.
Yes.
That was it. It was not necessarily, there are certain circumstances where they did a deeper dive than that. But if you just told them about it, that was it.
Yeah.
You know, I was a real bad boy in college and I got an underage drinking ticket. Okay. Because I didn't always have a beard. And when I don't have a beard, I look like a child.
Bebe. Yeah.
Right. So I got at a tailgate a ticket for underage drinking, which is technically a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
And I put that on my application and everything was fine.
Yeah.
I didn't get it expunged. And apparently that was to my benefit, because had I gotten it expunged,
it would have been a whole process.
A process where they would need to open it up and look at it. But no, they didn't.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. I'm
a rebel.
Yeah.
Be careful out there.
Listen.
I'm a wild child.
Some of your clients might respect it.
Oh, well, you know, I actually do represent 4 individuals right now that have that received underage drinking tickets. And
by the time this episode airs, those cases will be dismissed.
That's right. That's right. Because I do good work.
Hell yeah.
And that's true, though. And, you know, when those parents that were calling me and telling me and they're freaking out, I'm letting them know you're fine. Your kid is fine.
Yeah. Because I was once in that situation.
That's right. And if he's anything like me, in a few years, he'll be hosting a podcast, happily married with a baby.
Yes. Winning
with his own law firm. Everything is fine. No,
my God. Listen, that's some validation for the parents, because they're probably thinking that their kids are
it's the end of the world.
Exactly.
And they really are. I feel bad for them, because they freak out and they're just like, my son, what did he do? And it's like, would you get caught at Banco Cantina drinking or some shit? Like nothing serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually where it was, but I know Banco had a raid recently. So
yeah,
be careful out there.
Yeah.
telling all our listeners, don't
Banco's a good
don't
time.
be drinking underage. Like we have a lot of underage drinker listeners.
I would be surprised.
We don't. I don't think we do.
You're like, I don't think we have a single one.
I don't think a single
But we
person
might
is
have a
underage.
listener who has a child that might end up getting, God forbid. But
you know who to call.
Fine. Yeah, exactly.
We are here.
So the other thing we talked about before this was that we get comments all the time on, actually I do. And I know you did recently. And it was like basically along the lines of, this is sick. What money can buy is sick or something on our videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
maybe videos of giving. I saw that on one of your videos that you were giving legal advice and it wasn't anything outlandish. And this woman was like, this is sick what money can buy. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, like keep that in mind next time.
Good state criminal representation. That's what the money is buying you. And this is disgusting. Like, you're advertising like drugs. People
are naturally offended by our existence because of our jobs.
Yeah, until they need us.
And that's the thing. Whenever I'm like giving people my card anywhere, like, because people are like, oh, what do you do? Whatever, like exchange business cards. And I just sense this hesitation. Like people don't want to take my card, but it's like, I know you don't want my card, but you're going to be looking for it when you need it. Or when someone calls you and says, do you know a criminal lawyer? And that'll be me. And you'll be like, I know that I spoke to this criminal defense attorney at X, Y, and Z, and I never actually saved their information. And it's like, it's on you, buddy.
Something that I get told often is, it's really nice to meet you, and I wish I never met you.
Yeah. Or I
From
hope
the same people. I hope I never speak to you
again.
again.
I hope I never see you again.
Yeah.
I get that all the time. I'm like, or like, it's sometimes I'm like telling my clients, like, it's nice to meet you. And then I'm like, wait, like, I'm sorry.
Albeit the circumstances. Yeah, I throw that in there all the time. Because
it's like, so yikes.
Well, it's nice for me. It's nice to meet them. Like I like interacting with people. I like interacting with my clients. It's a new day. It's a new case.
Yeah.
For them, they're like, yeah, oh, help. Like breathing all heavy. And I'm just.
It's not funny. It's just
two
different wavelengths.
Yeah, no.
Completely.
Most of them are not like panting by the time they get to my office.
No, they are not excited to meet us.
No, they're not happy to meet us.
But you touched on this, and that was like the duty to the court. And I think this comes into play when we have certain conversations with our clients. And sometimes things are told to us that, well, all the time, whenever we have conversations with our clients, there's attorney-client privilege. Nothing can be said. However, the ethical rules require us to disclose certain things to the court. But certain things are not always, how do I say this? Like the court.
Parles-tu français?
¿Hablas español?
Parla italiano.
If you've used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based technique teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world. With lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers, Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/listen. Spelled BABBEL.com/listen. Rules and restrictions may apply.
It's business.
I know what you're getting. I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying, because so that's a question that criminal defense attorneys get asked all the time. What things, if your client told you, do you have to like report? Do you have to tell the police? Or if your client tells you they're going to do something, like, do you have an act? Do you have to duty? Okay. That's one example. But another issue arises when you have a client that tells you something and you rely on it and go to court and you make a representation to court or to the prosecutor.
Yes.
And then you find out that your client lied to you.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, what is your duty? Do you have to go to the court and tell the court, this claim that I made is incorrect and I now know it's incorrect? Or do you owe a duty to your client? And is that duty higher than your duty of being, honest to the court? The answer that I have heard in the scenario that I faced when that happened to me from the bar, who you call and there's an ethical hotline. When I called them and told them, they said, no, you don't say anything to the court. Your duty to your client is above the court. And that was that. And oftentimes the ethical hotline that you call for the bar, they can't give you an actual answer. They'll direct you to certain opinions, but they oftentimes, that gentle nudge towards an opinion is them giving you the answer.
Yeah.
More often than not, they give good answers and good help, and it's good to call them.
I call them all the time.
It's good because it's great to make sure you're doing something.
And I never
the right way.
even called them before I went solo. Never called the ethical hotline. So for people who don't know, the Florida Bar offers this free resource to all bar attorneys in Florida. You can call them and basically ask them if something is ethical or unethical. And this comes whether it's your finances, how you're dealing with the client, what the opposing counsel, the court, it doesn't matter. There are rules that govern how we do our job and whether it's ethical or not. And some things, yes, they're common sense when it comes to ethics, but then there are other things that can like toe a gray line. And in your scenario, I have been faced with that situation, and I always just try to mitigate the situation in court while protecting my client, because I also don't want to show to the judge as much as I can and to the state that my client is a liar and make them look worse than they already are. Even though I may be frustrated with that situation, it's not something that kind of doesn't need to be aired out. And it's kind of like keeping your like business at home and like not airing out your dirty laundry.
Yeah, because in the scenario that I'm talking about, I was pissed that my client lied to me.
Very mad.
And I relied heavily on that when I spoke to the prosecutor and actually got this person a deal based on that representation, and was stuck that I couldn't go back and say, hey, this information that I'm telling you I found out is wrong. Like that stinks. And I'm not happy with my client about that at all, but whether I'm happy with him or not, and whether it would be my preference to tell the prosecutor or tell the judge what that was, unless the way that I was told, unless I was specifically asked by the judge.
Yes.
I was not to say anything, but because I was never, specifically asked, that was it. And I wound up getting off of that case. I wound up withdrawing from that case.
Yeah.
After that, because I wasn't going to continue with the representation, and I didn't take the plea with that client. That client took the plea that I had negotiated for him and got the benefit of that great deal, but I did not.
Yeah.
It was not me that did it. It was with another lawyer. And when that lawyer even asked me why I withdrew from the case, I couldn't tell him.
Yeah.
And I couldn't explain to him what.
Wow.
Yeah. But that wasn't when I was working with my own firm. That was when I was with my last firm. And I had very, very smart lawyers around me that were. Yeah. And, we spoke to the bar and like we knew exactly how to handle it. So it was.
Exactly. That's what's nice about like when you're in an office setting with other attorneys, you can always bounce. Like that's, I guess, why I never really called the Florida Bar Ethics Hotline, because I always just like talk to fellow attorneys and then I would come to my own conclusion prior to going solo. And then when I went solo, I don't have that luxury. I mean, oftentimes I can obviously call you or maybe another friend, but there are certain things I'm just like, I need to CYA because now it's like I am the liability.
That's right.
Versus before, I didn't necessarily see like the firm I worked for really had to kind of CYA for themselves, including me and my actions. Obviously, I acted in good faith all the time, but that's not always like a defense or like a reason to commit an unethical rule.
Right.
So, that being said, I always now call them. So,
and let's be clear. Not only are they responsible for telling us what the rules are, the bar, but they are responsible for policing those rules.
Yeah.
So if you do violate, or if there's an alleged violation, you have to go through the process of a bar complaint and deal with answering to the bar for any misconduct that you may have done.
Yeah.
And your license is at risk. Your bar license and ability to continue to practice law is at risk during that process. And that's its own category of the law. Like you were talking about, there are lawyers that just represent other lawyers that are getting in trouble. And I'm not talking about malpractice, because that's a whole other thing where lawyers can be sued for malpractice, and most, if not all, lawyers carry malpractice insurance because of that. But there are different levels of safeguards that protect against the actions of lawyers, especially if they're improper, and they hold us to a very high standard.
Yeah. And also I want to note that we're not regulated just in like our job necessarily. Like this is in like all the time, everywhere. Doesn't matter if we're our lawyer hats on, our lawyer hats off. Like we are technically regulated by the Florida bar 24/7.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Now that I say that out loud, it's kind of like scary.
Well, but I mean, you're not doing anything that's provoking the bar. But even when we were putting together this show, and as we go on with this show, I'm sure it'll come up, but we contacted the bar because we wanted to know how far into stories about our past we could get into without needing special permission, or were there things we aren't allowed to talk about? And they were pretty clear with us what things we could talk about or not talk about without permission from either prior clients or prior individuals that are involved in whatever we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it comes up all the time for us. And, we're doing a podcast, but we are still lawyers. And even this show, we have ethical obligations under the bar that we have to fulfill.
Good point. Yeah, that's so true. Because this is technically not the practice of law, and we were calling them as to make sure we were kosher.
Correct.
So that's so true. So in terms of,
well, what happens if because I started to talk about what the negative side is and what happens if you find yourself in trouble and violate. And what we do have to say is there are a handful of lawyers that do get in trouble for various things. And they are punished by the bar, if not punished legally. And we see cases that come up. There's a case right now that we are very familiar with about a local lawyer, if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, in Palm Beach County.
Yeah, talk about it.
So there is a criminal defense attorney, and this is why I said we will talk about the exceptions, because this is one of them, where one attorney was accused of lacing papers covered in Bible verses in the Palm Beach County jail, and it was laced with cocaine. And so he was charged with numerous first-degree felonies, trafficking cocaine into a detention facility, and he was facing years in prison. And he went to trial. He got lessers, and ultimately has to serve a year in the county, which is, I mean, considering the entire circumstance and what he was charged with, I think he may consider it a win. I don't know. But the other part of it is that he was disbarred. So that's the other aspect of, the Florida bar. It's not just like you were saying, it's not just the Florida bar. It's also like there's a legal aspect. It's like you're committing a crime, and as a result of your crime or the punishment, you could lose your license to practice law.
Yeah, I think this is an unfortunate example for a lot of reasons. And I also think this is, I don't think that it's something that a position that most lawyers will find themselves in. Because the allegation of soaking papers in drugs and then sneaking them into a facility, and knowingly doing that, I don't even think he was convicted of
the trafficking
that in full. He was convicted of just possession, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot to this story, and I think that I'm not a conspiracy person, but you're telling me that this lawyer that didn't have a criminal record all of a sudden is has the know-how and is soaking papers with cocaine and bringing them into the jail and giving them out to clients who then can share them, sell them, do whatever with them. I think there's probably more to the story that we're never going to know.
For sure.
That he was maybe not doing this at his own free will, but we'll never know.
Yeah, that's true. And
I think that's, you work way too hard to become a lawyer to do something like that just because.
Yeah, I would never risk my bar license for anything, and I would hope the same for other attorneys. But then there are times, and there are stories that come out all the time. There was somebody in Miami that years ago that got disbarred because they were giving kickbacks to judges whenever they would get more wheel appointed cases. So there are so many ways you can get in trouble, ultimately get prosecuted, serve either a jail or prison sentence, and lose your license to practice law, and then try to ultimately get it back. Because if you do get disbarred, there is a process where you can get basically admitted back into the bar, but you have to go through, I don't know what and what aspects of what. And in terms of the federal courts versus the state courts, that's a whole separate thing. And you would have to go through each individual bar to get admitted, jurisdiction to get admitted. But I don't know, just like you're saying, you work way too hard, but at the same time, it's there are people that still risk it.
Yeah,
they feel
right.
They feel untouchable, or I don't know. But, and I'm not to say that he was, because he really wasn't convicted of the charges that he was charged with, which they were very serious. And considering what he was convicted of versus what he was actually charged with, I think that's why I said maybe he considers it a win, because if that happened to one of my clients where it was you're facing a minimum mandatory of X amount of years in prison and you're serving 364 and you were convicted on a possession with no min-man,
the state attorney's office never would have offered that to resolve the case. That a plain possession conviction, there's no way that they would have offered that. So the only way to get that is by going to trial and getting a jury. And I think it is a win because the state never would have offered that, and it's something better than you could have gotten through them.
Yeah.
But the jury saved him. I mean, he was looking at minimum mandatory prison time on multiple charges,
counts,
right?
Yeah.
So,
so he
not a great story.
It was, yeah, and it was definitely a risk to go to trial, because we can have a separate thing on sentencing, but minimum mandatories, going to trial on any sort of enhancement or minimum mandatory is you have to have a whole conversation with your client. Obviously, he's a criminal defense. He himself is a criminal defense attorney. It's not like he's just another. No, he knows very well. So, that kind of hit home too, because it was local and it actually just happened. And there was also a portion of this ethical component of a conflict of interest pending trial when he was still, because you are innocent or you're presumed innocent. He was out of custody, practicing law still. I'm sure there was an investigation by the Florida bar, but obviously it's an investigation at that point. He wasn't suspended or anything, handling his cases in court. And I was a public defender at the time and handling my cases. He would come in and the judges would have to basically do a colloquy with his own clients and be you are both being prosecuted. You and your attorney are being prosecuted by the same state attorney's office. And this could be potentially a conflict of interest in your case. Do you still consent to his representation on your case? And the ones that I saw, they agreed. I never saw them ask for him to be withdrawn from the case. But it's just embarrassing because the judge is now announcing it in front of everybody in the courtroom. It was still an accusation at the time. It wasn't a conviction. And it was not something that was handled privately. So I remember when I saw that as a public defender and I was just yikes, that is rough, So that was a big local news situation that everybody kind of was talking about and keeping an eye on. But there have been other local attorneys, which we didn't prepare to talk about, and I just
No,
came to mind. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Go for it.
Do you know?
Because there's so many examples that I'm thinking of right now, whether it's local lawyers that have been prosecuted or local lawyers that have been held in contempt in front of certain judges, that I am thinking of examples of both right now.
Yeah.
And we could talk about.
We can go on and on, you guys.
Yeah, there's a lot that we could go into with that. And we probably will at some point because those are some really good stories.
Yeah.
But you know.
That one was definitely, like, that was the most recent and definitely something.
It's not a good look for our profession, but I think it is so few and far between that happens. And also, I don't think that we'll ever know the full story behind this one.
But do we ever?
I don't know. In the scenario you gave where somebody was cutting bribes to judges, like you kind of know. In the scenario that we're talking about,
okay,
I think it's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on real quick. I think it's entirely possible that he had a client that was threatening him and told him that needed to be brought into the jail. And that client was involved in some real heavy stuff with some real bad people. And that client arranged for cocaine to get soaked onto papers because I don't know about you, but I don't think you can just figure out how to do that on your own. No problem. That's not a Chat GPT, Google it sort of thing to figure out how to do that. And I think there's more to that story. But he had to keep his mouth shut because that was the more dangerous of the options. And he's going to do his year and went to trial and lost his career over it, but maintained his life.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, stepping off of my soapbox and taking my tinfoil hat off, that is kind of what I think.
Yeah. And then there are a lot of disbarred attorneys that make a career out of becoming basically paralegals, and they become the writers for the criminal defense attorneys who are like us and just like to show up. And we need writing to be done because the thing is, we still need to do our writing. It's just, I've told you this before, it takes me so long to get it done.
That's true.
I just despise that part of my job, but it still needs to get done. But anyways, they make their money basically doing the writing for other lawyers. And it's pretty cool because it's like, you don't really need to train them on anything. It's like, they already know what's up.
Slippery slope though, because you have a disbarred attorney.
I mean, you're reviewing it and filing it, so it's fine.
Dangerous, but
yeah. But I would.
But they, you know,
I think it's a good idea.
They
honestly.
need work. And
yeah, exactly. How are they going to get paid?
And how are they going to get their lives back together?
Exactly.
Unless they did something real scuzzy, then it's like, shame on you.
Yeah.
Bad. Tisk,
yeah.
tisk.
Yeah.
Made us all look bad.
Like a
sneaky
case.
lawyer.
Oh.
Full circle, baby. Full circle. Would you say like a sex case? That's so much worse.
Yeah, I went to like the dark side.
Yeah, no, we didn't cover the lawyers that get involved with that shit because I'm sure those are.
Really seen that.
I'm sure that is out there. There's
but I meant like locally or anything.
Every profession has its scuzzes. Predators. Yeah, that's true.
I wanted to also mention that the Florida Bar Ethical Hotline, and we can include like the resource information in the show notes. It's anonymous. So like they will never know who's calling. And that's why it kind of just gives you free reign. Give them a call if you ever have a question about anything that may be on the gray side. You know, you're not fully sure. It could go either way. What rule governs this? Instead of having to do your own research, you just call them and ask them. And there's like barely ever a wait. Like I've been in the call queue for like 2 minutes and I always get somebody on the phone. The only thing that sucks is they're not 24 hours. But besides that, 10 out of 10.
Most people are not nocturnal like you are. So
yeah, working at like crazy hours.
Yeah, no. Some of us enjoy our sleep.
Well, I guess
that's it.
Okay. Well, if you like listening to this episode, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to all our platforms. Come back with a warrant.pod. We have a newsletter that drops every Tuesday with our episode. And if you don't like listening,
come back with a warrant.
The holidays are behind us and school routines are back. Now is the time to help your kids start the new semester strong. IXL helps students refresh what they learned in the fall, so they head into the new year feeling confident and prepared. With new units and new goals, IXL is the simplest way to build better habits and stay on top of lessons without the stress. As teachers dive into new material, kids can practice those exact same skills at home to make sure the lessons really stick. IXL is an award-winning platform covering math, language arts, science, and social studies for pre-K through 12th grade. It's personalized, interactive, and actually fun. Keep your kids motivated for the second half of the year at IXL.com. Don't miss out. 1 in 4 students in the U.S. are learning with IXL. IXL is used in 96 of the top 100 school districts in the U.S. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. And listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXLlearning.com/audio. Visit IXLlearning.com/audio to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price.